Can your daily supplement quietly wreck your kidneys without you even knowing it? Most of us pop vitamins without a second thought, but what if one of them is secretly overwhelming your kidneys? That's what happened to a 55-year-old woman who ended up in intensive care, her body flooded with toxins. Are you thinking junk foods triggered her, or alcohol? But you don't believe a simple over-the-counter vitamin she took every day without question has rid her kidneys. Her story isn't rare, and today we're going to look at exactly what happened to her so you can make sure the same thing doesn't happen to you. And it's a wake-up call for anyone who thinks natural means safe. Let's break down what went wrong and how you can keep your kidneys protected. The sudden collapse. She woke up thinking it was just another quiet morning. The sky outside looked calm, and her routine felt familiar, nothing out of the ordinary. But within an hour, her world had flipped. As she moved toward the kitchen, her legs gave out without warning. She sank to the floor, breath shallow, forehead clammy. Something was off, deeply off. She couldn't keep her balance, and a bone-deep chill spread across her body. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her phone. Breathing felt strange, heavy, sluggish. Her heart wasn't pounding, it was dragging, like it had forgotten its rhythm altogether. By the time paramedics arrived, her skin had taken on a strange hue, almost waxy. They took one look and rushed her to the hospital. The thermometer read 93 degrees Fahrenheit, hypothermic levels. Her heart rate was crawling, barely pushing blood through her veins. Nurses noticed a puffiness around her ankles and wrists, subtle but unmistakable. It wasn't swelling from a twisted ankle or allergic reaction. This was internal, systemic. Something inside her was slipping, and fast. Once in the ER, her condition kept declining. She hadn't produced any urine since the night before, and now, not even a drop. Her kidneys, they feared, were offline. Doctors ordered immediate blood tests, trying to find the source of this sudden collapse. Blood pressure had dipped into dangerous territory. Her extremities felt like ice, and her lips were beginning to turn blue. Staff whispered in corners, eyebrows furrowed. This wasn't a heart attack, it wasn't a stroke. But it was serious, life-threatening even. Family members waited in silence, watching from across the sterile room, wondering how this had escalated so quickly. Just weeks ago, she was walking her dog around the block. Now she was slipping into something far more critical. One nurse noted that the decline seemed oddly rapid, too steep for a typical flare-up of chronic illness. They checked for infections, ruled out food poisoning, and examined her medication list twice. Still, no clear answer. It was like her body was shutting down from the inside, and no one could yet say why. As they prepared to transfer her to the ICU for closer monitoring, a doctor ordered a full kidney panel. They were running out of possibilities, and her urine output or lack thereof was the biggest red flag in the room. The lab results they were about to receive would not only start unraveling the mystery, but also pull everyone into a deeper, more troubling discovery about what had been quietly happening inside her all along. A silent organ screaming for help. As the lab technicians processed her blood samples, the ER team braced themselves. The severity of her symptoms didn't align with any obvious illness. Minutes later, the results came through, and the room fell silent. Her serum creatinine level wasn't just high, it was astronomical. A reading of 3,530 milligrams per deciliter meant one thing: her kidneys had almost completely shut down. This wasn't a gradual decline, it was a nosedive. Just 8 weeks earlier, her tests were normal. She hadn't complained of any new discomfort. No fever, no unusual fatigue. But now her kidneys were in full-blown crisis mode. Creatinine is a waste product every human produces, and healthy kidneys are supposed to filter it out. In her case, it was building up at a dangerous rate. This toxic overload was spreading through her bloodstream like wildfire. With no urine output, her body had no way to release the poison. Nausea, swelling, and confusion, each symptom was another sign of internal chaos. The doctors moved her straight into intensive care. There was no time to wait. They began dialysis immediately, hooking her to a machine that could do what her organs no longer could. Blood was drawn, cleaned externally, and returned cycle after cycle. Even still, the question loomed over every medical discussion: how did this happen so fast? This level of kidney failure usually comes with warnings: persistent high blood pressure, diabetes complications, prolonged dehydration. She had none of those markers. Her lifestyle didn't point in this direction. She didn't smoke, she wasn't on any heavy prescriptions, and she hadn't touched alcohol in years. Her medical records didn't show any red flags. No autoimmune disease, no signs of infection. Her heart was relatively healthy. Her liver was functioning. All roads led back to her kidneys, and all explanations hit a dead end. Even the ICU team, used to handling critical cases, seemed unsettled by how fast her organs had collapsed. Doctors who had worked for decades in nephrology hadn't seen such an untraceable breakdown with so few indicators. They dug deeper, looking into her habits, nutrition, and daily routine. Something had to be throwing her body into this spiral. The cause wasn't infection. It wasn't hereditary. But as they continued their investigation, one overlooked detail from her home life would soon shine a glaring light on the hidden danger behind her sudden medical disaster. The hidden culprit. As scans and lab reports kept returning without clear direction, the medical team decided to examine every detail of her lifestyle. They spoke with her family, sifted through recent grocery lists, and reviewed her personal care products. That's when something finally stood out, something so ordinary, it had escaped suspicion entirely. A bottle of vitamins she had been taking for years, sitting right there on her kitchen counter, was nearly empty. Not a prescription, not some rare herbal formula, just a standard over-the-counter supplement meant to boost immunity and support daily wellness. She had taken it faithfully, without missing a morning. No second thoughts. It was part of her routine right after brushing her teeth. To her, it was harmless, even helpful. But when doctors broke down the ingredients and traced its effects, they realized this small capsule had been slowly overwhelming her kidneys. The label didn't mention risks. There were no glaring warnings, but the dosage, especially for someone with reduced kidney function, was far too much. Her kidneys were already vulnerable, even if she didn't know it. The excess nutrients, which a healthy person might have processed without issue, had built up inside her system. Day after day, they quietly stacked until her body reached a tipping point. The irony? She had started the supplement to stay well, to give herself extra protection during flu season. The reality? That daily habit was breaking her down from the inside. The discovery felt both relieving and horrifying. Relieving because they finally had an answer. Horrifying because it could have been avoided. The doctors now had a culprit, but it wasn't an infection or a chronic disease. It was a health product, trusted by millions, sold without a second glance. And this revelation forced the team to question how many other patients might be walking the same path, unknowingly putting strain on their kidneys, one vitamin at a time. But this woman's case wasn't just about one product. It was about a bigger issue, how something marketed as safe could slip through the cracks and do real harm, especially to people with fragile organs. And soon the team would realize she wasn't alone. The misleading promise of healthy. She didn't set out to harm her body. Every choice she made came from a place of prevention, protecting herself from illness, boosting her energy, and staying strong as she aged. The supplement aisle had always felt like a safe zone, filled with promises of longevity and vitality. Friends swore by multivitamins. Online forums raved about immune support blends, and influencers, some wearing lab coats, endorsed daily wellness stacks like they were miracle tools for modern living. So she followed their lead, one capsule for bone health, another for immunity, one more for digestion. None of the bottles warned her about pre-existing kidney problems. There were no flashing labels saying consult your doctor if, or not safe for impaired renal function. The fine print, if there was any, was buried in jargon. She had been living with early-stage kidney disease, but it hadn't interfered with her life. She didn't think that made her vulnerable. No doctor had told her to stop supplements, and nothing on those shelves suggested caution. But her kidneys were quietly losing the ability to handle what she kept putting in. What healthy individuals could excrete with ease, her compromised organs retained. Nutrients that were meant to nourish began to accumulate. Calcium, oxalate, and excess vitamin C. It all built up, quietly creating a storm inside her. While she thought she was giving her body strength, she was slowly feeding it stress. What shocked her most wasn't the damage. It was the betrayal. The sense that something labeled as natural, essential, or doctor recommended could turn into such a silent threat. She had trusted those words. That trust led to catastrophe. Even her medical team admitted it was an oversight that happens too often. The marketing around vitamins rarely includes disclaimers for chronic conditions. Most people, especially those with underlying health issues, assume that if it's sold over the counter, it must be mild. But for kidneys already strained, even mild can mean mayhem. Her case wasn't just about what she took, it was about how the industry presents health products. And as doctors began reviewing other patient histories, they saw a pattern forming, one that reached far beyond this single incident. She sets not alone. As her case drew attention within the hospital, more stories began surfacing, quiet, buried in medical records, or dismissed as rare side effects. But when doctors connected the dots, a pattern emerged. Her experience wasn't an outlier, it was part of a larger, growing issue hiding in plain sight. People across different ages and backgrounds were facing similar outcomes, all tied to excessive or inappropriate supplement use. A wellness influencer in her 20s proudly documented her daily stack of immunity boosters online. Weeks later, she was hospitalized with sharp pain and blood in her urine, diagnosed with kidney stones linked directly to overuse of vitamin C. In another case, a middle-aged woman dropped almost 30 pounds in a single month, plagued by constant nausea, leg cramps, and weakness. Her kidneys were severely damaged, her routine overloaded with multivitamins and detox teas. Then came a 61-year-old man who had been misdiagnosed with pancreatitis after showing up with intense abdominal pain. Further tests revealed no pancreatic issues, but his supplement regimen, packed with high-dose vitamin A and synthetic B12, had pushed his kidneys into distress. These weren't isolated missteps or reckless overdoses. Many had followed what they believed were standard doses, encouraged by labels and lifestyle advice. Over-the-counter doesn't mean harmless, especially when the kidneys are already under strain. Unlike other organs, kidneys can't always signal trouble until it's nearly too late, and once damage sets in, it can be permanent. The deeper concern? Most of these individuals never realized the risk. They were trying to stay healthy, not create a health crisis, yet, without tailored guidance, they ended up gambling with one of the body's most vital filtration systems. As awareness grows, it's becoming clear this is not just about one woman's mistake. It's a widespread misunderstanding that's costing people more than they ever expected. The science behind the breakdown. Understanding how vitamins interact with the body, especially in compromised systems, is key to avoiding serious harm. While nutrients like A, C, D, E, and B12 are essential, the way they behave in someone with kidney issues is completely different from how they function in a healthy individual. That difference can be the line between benefit and breakdown. Fat-soluble vitamins like A and D don't exit the body easily. They accumulate in tissue over time, which is fine when the kidneys are filtering properly. But when filtration is impaired, even moderate levels can turn toxic. Excess vitamin A, for instance, can disrupt liver function and trigger nausea, headaches, or worse, long-term kidney stress. Vitamin D, if mismanaged, may spike calcium and phosphate levels in the blood, potentially hardening arteries and reducing kidney filtration capacity further. Synthetic forms pose another risk. Take cyanocobalamin, commonly used as B12 in supplements. It includes small amounts of cyanide that healthy bodies typically eliminate. But in people with poor kidney function, these molecules linger, slowly adding to an invisible toxic load. Over time, that accumulation can intensify existing damage or accelerate decline. Then there's vitamin C, often assumed to be harmless, but in large amounts it converts to oxalate, a substance that forms sharp crystals in the kidneys. These crystals can block pathways, inflame tissue, and reduce how efficiently the kidneys work, sometimes permanently. The truth is, supplementation isn't universal. What helps one person thrive might be another's downfall. Especially with a condition like kidney disease, personalization is everything. Just because a supplement sits on a pharmacy shelf doesn't mean it's meant for everyone. Your organs, especially your kidneys, need balance, not overload. This isn't about fear, it's about understanding your body's limits before you cross them unknowingly. And this brings us to the deeper question of what you can do to protect yourself. What this means for you, whether you've been diagnosed with kidney problems or you consider yourself relatively healthy, this is the moment to rethink your approach. That daily supplement you toss back without much thought, it could either support your well-being or quietly create problems you won't see coming until it's far too late. The difference often lies not in what you're taking, but in how much, what form, and whether your body can handle it. Labels can be misleading. Words like natural, doctor-approved, or immune support don't always mean safe for everyone, especially not for those with kidney sensitivity. Certain vitamins may seem harmless, but require fully functioning kidneys to process and eliminate. Without that, they build up silently. You might not feel a thing until fatigue, swelling, or more serious symptoms appear. By then, the damage may already be done. So what can you do? First, don't assume one-size-fits-all applies here. Look beyond the front label and check the actual ingredients and dosages. Is that B12 methylated or synthetic? Is the vitamin A dosage tailored for your health status? These are the questions that can make all the difference. If you're living with chronic conditions, especially kidney-related, it's essential to speak with your healthcare provider before adding anything new. They can guide you towards safe choices that won't put unnecessary stress on your system. The takeaway here isn't panic, it's power. Knowing the risks gives you control over what goes into your body. Supplements are tools, not shortcuts, and like any tool, they need to be used wisely. Don't wait until your body raises an alarm. Make informed decisions now because your kidneys won't always warn you before they fail. Prevention doesn't start in a hospital room, it starts with awareness, and that starts with you. If this story made you pause and rethink your own supplement habits, that's exactly the point. Your health isn't just about what you add to your routine, it's about knowing what your body actually needs and what it can safely handle. Especially when it comes to kidneys, the damage doesn't always show up right away, but the consequences can be life-altering. So before you pop another pill labeled Daily Wellness, take a moment to check the facts, ask questions, and talk to your doctor. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We've got more real stories, medical insights, and life-saving tips coming your way. And if you know someone who might benefit from this, share it with them too. Let's stay informed, stay safe, and take control of our health together. Your kidneys will thank you.